Hey y'all, and welcome to the Max Life. So I am in the prepper's pantry again, and I have good news and I have bad news. So I'm gonna tell y'all the good news first. Y'all saw Sayla. Those were the potatoes that I canned this year. So she is bringing all of my new stuff. So this is my plan. All of my newest canned food items are gonna go over my prepper's pantry. So
there's someone all the way to the bottom.
All the way to the bottom, yes. So you see that this is 3 rows of potatoes that we grew and dug up this late winter, early spring. And I've already got, not all of them canned, but I got a huge portion of them canned. So my plan is I want to gather up all of my oldest jars and put it right in the kitchen so they're easily accessible. I can see what I have from the older years closest to me. All of the newest stuff will be brought in here, and my intentions are is to rotate those things out as the years progress, the newest in here, oldest in there. The bad news is we are at a total standstill. So several things have happened really over the past couple of days. So I'm going to kind of tell y'all what's been going on and what has been slowing up our process. So we still don't have this floor stained in here. It is totally not necessary, but it just doesn't match the rest of the house. So I really wanted to stain this floor in here so it wouldn't look like an add-on, if that makes sense, even though it kind of is and not at the same time. I just felt like it would look like a more natural part of the house if the floor was stained, and it really doesn't take that long, and it's really not that big of a job, y'all. Here's the kicker. We're in and out this room. We had all the pigs to do, which we didn't even, on the 4th of July, we didn't even get, this is the next day. We were so tired, y'all, because myself, Colby went to bed a little bit earlier than me because I went through the entire house and vinegared in my steam mop from one end of the house to the other. The reason why I had to do that is because it was Colby, his parents, his sister, her husband, and their 3 kids too. And you guys saw the video from that where they were in and out and in and out. And yes, there was fat and blood, some blood, and meat, raw meat all over this floor. And little feet come in and little feet went out, and it was all over my house. So I spent hours going through and wiping off door handles and anything that could have been touched and vinegaring the whole floor with my steam mop. I was pressure canning in between. They really kind of worked on meat, but I did not have room in my freezer. So what I had to do for our pig is go through my freezers and make room. Now I found some really old okra and some really old peaches that smelled freezer burn. So I went ahead and put those in our pig bucket, which is kind of like our scrap bucket. Then I went ahead and I was able to maneuver a couple of things around, but I had to decide what had to be canned right then because I had to get it out, can it, so that I can bring that stuff to the shelf and have more room in my freezer. So I had a couple bags of pineapple and several bags of chicken broth because after we cook our chicken, I leave all the bone, the skins, and the fat in the crock pot. I fill it up with water and turn it on high for at least another 12 hours, sometimes longer than that. Then I strain all that stuff off and get all the broth, put it in the freezer, and then when I have enough to do at least a batch in my canner, I go ahead and can a batch of that. This time it ended up being a batch and a half. So I ended up with right at 7 jars fills in our pressure canner, and I had 11 or 12 jars plus the bags of pineapple. So I was able to get the bags of pineapple and my chicken broth, all of the chicken broth in 2 canning sessions, which didn't end until 1 a.m. that night. We got back up. We really basically did the same thing the next day. It was taking out all the ground meat, running it through the sausage, the link machine, which you guys saw some clips of us doing that. And that was the 4th of July. And then that night we were supposed to come in here. We were going to vacuum seal it all in bags. But y'all, we were so tired. What we decided to do is just leave it in the cold room. We were going to go home, let everybody rest, and then come back today and get all that stuff sealed off. So because we're in and out of this room today, it's raining outside, it would actually been a perfect day to stain these floors. So all of that to say, this room is being used so much. We're not able to get in here and stain this floor, which is a real bummer because I really wanted to tie in all the loose ends really in here. I have a space. I don't think I've even told you this, but the space between here and here was left for 5-gallon buckets to fit under here, which here's an empty one right here. I'll show y'all what I'm talking about. I buy apple cider vinegar, coconut oil, wheat berries, flour, different things like that I can store in these buckets. Honey, this was you see it says spring honey. This 5-gallon bucket had honey in it from when we harvested honey in 2022 is what it says. But they actually fit perfectly right here. So my intentions along this whole wall was left open to store those buckets. We really tried to plan with purpose. But I can't move any of that stuff out of my pantry until the floor gets done. So it kind of has us in a place where we really can't do much because we're processing the pigs and everybody's still being in and out. Like I said, I would have loved to have gotten that started today, but because we still have people coming in and out and getting their meat and stuff, we still have to package ours, all of that. We just can't do the floors yet. So I'm kind of at a standstill on my organization. So that's kind of the bad news. And here's another bad news. So our builder is actually a really close friend of ours. Some of y'all have made comments about my shelves. He is actually a professional fireman and a carpenter. So this is what he does on the side. He works full-time as a fireman. He is a sweet friend of ours, and actually his mom and Colby have known each other. They work together, you know, all of that fun stuff. So he come in and he's the one that built these shelves. They are secured at each shelf, and each shelf also has support going all the way down, braced into the wall for extra support. We got a call the other day that his son was really, really sick. He stayed home, did some things that he had been working on for us at his house because he was off from the firehouse that day. Come to find out, we get a call that he is on the way to the emergency room with his son. His son's appendix had actually ruptured and they did emergency surgery, and he is still recovering in the hospital. So kind of a lot going on here. We're just kind of at a standstill when it comes to the Prepper's Pantry and trying to get, we want to move forward, but right now we're just kind of at a standstill from the situation. We can't really do anything else with the floor in here. Once we get the floor in here, we're done with this area. We have some other areas that we're working on, just moving some things around and building shelves to make things make more sense. And then you guys are going to see us extend that exterior wall out. So lots more work to be done. This is the main thing, is the Prepper's Pantry, but we're just kind of at a hold right now until we can work out this situation with the floor and our builder getting his son very much better. We hope so, that he is able to heal on up and get out of the hospital, because rupturing appendixes are not what you want to play with. They can be extremely dangerous. So kind of a bad situation for them. Y'all just keep them in your prayers. And that's an update on everything. But guys, I have a story to tell y'all, and it is going to blow your socks off just a little bit. Since I'm rotating shelves, before I get into the situation that we just dealt with, I wanted to tell y'all what I was doing with my eggs. So I have eggs that actually are dating back. This is February, March, April, May, and some September of 2023. So since I'm rotating my shelves around, I thought now would be the perfect time. I'm taking all of February, and I know I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
8, 9, 10.
7 jars that I see just right off the top of my head. And I'm going to go ahead and put those on my pantry in the kitchen. And this is what my plan is. The very first jar that I'm going to take out, I'm going to go ahead and take all of my eggs out of the water, wash them all off, the ones that are good, put them in the refrigerator and leave them there and start using those. As we bring eggs in from outside, I'm going to use my empty jar and start replacing those jars. So my first jar that I empty out, as soon as I get enough clean, fresh eggs, I'm gonna repackage that and I'll put August 24 on it. Bring it in my prepper's pantry. I'll get another February jar and basically do the same thing. Now, I could just leave the jar on the counter if I wanted to and pull those eggs and wash them and use them. I have just found it easier if I just get the egg out, wash it off, do a float test on it. If it's good, I put it in the refrigerator. If it's not good, it goes in the pig bucket. It's still not going to waste because the pigs will eat the eggs. So that is my plan with the shelf right here. You see that it is literally right beside the washing machine. And we have things like starch, iron. We don't use bleach a lot because I don't really like bleach. But there are times where we have to bleach certain things. So I have a couple of those things, including, yes, my lint roller that Jennings is playing with. And laundry detergents, which I have to keep several containers of that because in our house with a family of 8, working a regular job, doing this farm thing, and the kids in and out of the pool all summer, my washing machine just does not stop. So I have to keep several containers of washing detergent, and I really have just kind of put those here and there and everywhere because I didn't really have a place. So I really want to designate this shelf to laundry items, whether it be starch, the ironing board. I'm going to put 2 little hooks on this side and just use that top leg of the ironing board and put right up there and hang that up. So this just can kind of be like our laundry area and have a spot just for that. But I wanted to tell y'all what I was going to do with my eggs because we got in here and I got to transferring and digging through stuff and realized I just kind of have stuff everywhere, which is kind of like I told y'all before, which is really why the shelves were so needed. And yes, coming here to get green onions. These are from 2023 and they really need to just be put where I can access them better and kind of see what is what. But I wanted to tell y'all what I'm going to do with my eggs. I think that is a wonderful way to rotate those eggs out, is use those that are from 2023. Start using 1 jar at a time, work my way through the months. Of course, I would start with February. Then I would move to March, empty all those jars out into April. And I think I have a couple of May and a couple of September jars. Empty those out, restock all of my jars with fresh eggs. And no, I will not reuse this water because in my opinion, all of these eggs are not going to be good. It just doesn't happen. You're going to have 1 or 2 that's going to have a weaker shell and that is just going to crack and it's going to make your water not wonderful. But the eggs inside are still okay, the ones that are not cracked. So again, that's why I wash them off and use those. But I don't like the idea, even if my water and the eggs in the jar were absolutely perfect, I don't like the idea of how the lime would age out for another year. And then I would risk all of my eggs, I would risk losing all of my eggs. For as cheap as pickling lime is, I would rather just dump this and not try to save it so I don't risk my eggs. It would cost a couple of extra cents per jar. It's not worth losing the amount of eggs that I would have in all of my jars. So that is my plan and kind of what we're doing right now. And thankfully I have a section where all of my gallon jars and stuff will house just these items. So here we off to move things around and juggle this task that I knew was going to be a little bit complicated, but I'm glad to be able to do this and have the ability to do it and get this under my belt. Okay, so update on the eggs. Here's 12 that are good. I have done the float test on those. 3 went behind me in the pig bucket. So So out of 15, I had 3 not good, 12 were good. I have the rest of my jar to go through. I just wanted to kind of give you a ratio of comparison of what I was dealing with. February of 2023. So these are February 2024, a year plus some later, guys. We are dealing with eggs that are well over a year. So that just goes to show you, yes, you're gonna have some bad eggs. You know, they say there's always bad apples in a basket. You're gonna have some bad eggs, and that's okay. A majority of them are gonna be good, and that's what you want. So if I'm not getting any eggs through the winter, at least I have preserved some, and that has been my goal. If you don't know how to water glass eggs, guys, check out my video on that. I also have a video showing you guys how I cracked open some water glass eggs that were well over a year old as well, and how I cooked with them. So y'all be sure to check those videos out. I think it'll kind of give you more of an idea of, if you're not familiar with water glass eggs, what it is all about. Okay, y'all, I need to get into the story of what happened. So when we were doing the fireworks, 4th of July, actually, Romeo, for the past probably week, has been getting out of his kennel. Now, by all the trainers that we have talked to, tell us when we are not outside with the dogs, they cannot be running under the fences, running after the cows. The cows kind of get used to them. They kind of get used to the cows. That they really only want the dogs out when we're out here, which is a good bit, because I've seen some of y'all's comments asking about the dogs and the kennels. But like when I'm working inside, I cannot leave them unattended out here with all of the animals. So they're really only allowed to come out of the kennels when we're out here and can watch them. Which, like I said, if I'm not out here, Colby's usually out here, Aiden's usually out here. Today has been a little bit of an off day because you can't really tell right now. In the skies you can, but it absolutely flooded today. I already told y'all that, which is one of the reasons why I was like, today would have been a great day to stain. However, we're still working with the meat. But I gotta tell y'all what happened. So he was very nervous. He was out because we had company, and of course, like I said, we were out. He was out, but he had been getting out of his kennel anyway, and I had not seen him. Colby said that he saw him jump out of the back, which I thought was crazy. Like, I was like, how is he even doing that? That's not even possible. Hardly saw him go out of the back. I've not seen him get out of his kennel. Well, in the last video clip, you will see that we had company. It was family over. They were all down in the pool, and I noticed he was scared to death because there were already fireworks going off everywhere. So before we started fireworks, I went ahead and put him up in his kennel. We went down and did the fireworks and cleaned up everything because, you know, there's towels and ice cream cups and, you know, just all that stuff laying around, paper and stuff from the fireworks. So we cleaned all that up, went inside. By this time, it was a little after 10. Livy was having a total meltdown. Put her to bed. We went to bed. Colby come out this morning and was doing chores this morning. Romeo was nowhere to be found. He called and called and called him. He had gotten out of his kennel, was nowhere on our property. About 6 o'clock rolled around. He was still nowhere to be found. I was up at 7 because I told y'all I've been sleeping a little bit longer since we've had a couple really late nights. One being I didn't get in the bed until after 2 a.m. And I come outside, I called him. I have a call that I can do that is really, really loud. It echoes, so I know it goes really, really far in the woods. He was nowhere to be found, y'all. So at this point in time, I'm freaking out a little bit. We live very close to some very, very, very busy intersections where people travel very fast, and I knew that if he had gotten anywhere in the road, once people gotten up and started commuting for their morning jobs, that he was going to get hit if he was in the road. So I was very concerned about where he was at, where he'd gone, what he was doing, and his safety. So I immediately got dressed. We began to drive up into some neighborhoods that are not too far from us. I was thinking probably, in my mind, I had called a business. We have a local business, and behind that business is some, it's across, it's probably about a mile away. It's on the across from our property. And in that area, there's a local business on the front of the road. Behind that property is a big pasture, and I knew that there were some cows over there. So my first thought was, I wonder if he went over there. So I had drove in front of the business. I called him several times, y'all. He was nowhere to be found. I left that area and went to the neighborhood that I had just mentioned, drove all the roads over there, called and called and called. He was nowhere to be found. On my way out, I saw this little older couple that was walking early in the morning. This was like 7:30, 7:45, and showed them a picture on my phone of Romeo and just said, you know, hey, we're on the other side of this highway, y'all. If you happen to see him, the fireworks scared him last night. He was able to get out of his kennel. We cannot find him anywhere. If you happen to see him over here in the neighborhood, my other thought was he may have went into a neighborhood where he saw people or kids or other animals. So they were real sweet and actually said that their previous border collie was a really, really old dog and got scared from fireworks on the 4th of July. She happened to get outside to go to the bathroom and ran off, and they never found her. So I was so discouraged at this point in time and was like, I just don't know. We've invested so much in Romeo. I don't know what we're going to do if we can't find him. If he gets in these roads, I know he's going to get killed. I had gotten really discouraged because it had been like 30, 40 minutes. I'm driving up all these roads in the neighborhood. After I talked to the older couple, I decided to leave the neighborhood, and I was going to go back down the highway on another section where there's like a store and some other businesses. And maybe I was like, maybe he's hanging out up there where there's some people. So I left, and when you pull out of the neighborhood, you can see like the right side of the pasture behind the business, the very first business that I went to. And as I'm driving, I just was like, I'm just going to glance over in that field one more time just to see if I see him anywhere over there. So I'm driving, and y'all, I'm going pretty slow on this road that you're not supposed to go slow on, but I'm creeping along about 25, 30 miles per hour. And I look over in the pasture, and I see him sitting up. I can hardly see him, but I noticed the tan in the middle of all of the green grass. So I'm going, that's going to be Romeo. That's going to be Romeo. That's going to be Romeo. So I whipped my car into the parking lot, the other side of the parking lot of the business, drive across the it's kind of like a corner parking lot, if y'all know what I'm talking about. Drive up. By the time I get to the end of that section of the parking lot, it is panel fence with 2 barbed wires at the top. And I start calling him, and he hears me and starts running. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I found him. I cannot believe he was actually over there. So I call him up, and then I'm debating, how am I going to get him out of these panels? It's a full panels, with like the little 2x4s, little holes, and then the barbed wires at the top. And I'm like, I can't jump it. This is not my property. It's to the ground. What am I going to do? So I start kind of walking down the fence, and I see a section that's probably about that high off the ground. So I was like, you know what? That's already off the ground some. I'm going to go in the middle of the section and lift it up and see if I can get him under. So I did that, went into that middle section, and I was able to lift it up about that much. So I was able to get it up enough for him. When I called him, he come right under. So I put him in the little car with me and brought him home. Then when we got home, I'm going to show y'all what I had to do to shore up his kennel, not because we want to make him stay here all day, okay? I've kind of talked to y'all about the need for that. If we let him roam with the cows all day, they get used to him, he gets used to them. When we're ready to move them, he has no drive to push them, and they're not scared of him because they've been hanging out with him all day. So that's kind of the reason behind that. Now, if you look at Simba's kennel, hey boy, hey you thinker, if you look right here at this top, it's open. This same opening is in the back. but we have tarps along the back, which was the same. If you look in Romeo's, there's a tarp back there. There was a little section, and I'm just going to show y'all exactly what I'm talking about, which is crazy to me. This little section right here, which he didn't have the doghouse in there, because we had taken this out for when Juliet had her puppies, and put it in that fencing for her and her puppies when we moved them outside. So this little section from here to here, y'all, here to here, was just not zip tied down. So he was running apparently from that door and climbing up this fence in order to jump out. That is the only way he could have gotten out of this dog kennel. So what I did is come and put some zip ties along this backside to shore this up. He has not gotten out, praise the Lord. And I kept wondering, what am I going to do with the front? What am I going to do with the front? Then I remembered we had these little shade cloths when I had the bunnies, or I said the bunnies, when I had the rabbits back over in the small greenhouse. We would keep them there in the winter, and in the summer we would move them. Well, there was a section that they would get a lot of shade. So we had bought these shade cloths to go over a part of our rabbits where they could get shade basically all day, because sun in Mississippi with the rabbits and their fur just wouldn't make it. So we had to provide shade for them. I remembered these shade cloths, y'all. So I brought them. I was able to secure them up again with zip ties. I feel like our whole farm is secured with zip ties, but hey, whatever works. And it has definitely held him to where he is not able to get out of this kennel, because the main problem, my biggest concern other than him and the cows, is that if he gets in those roads that I was mentioning, y'all, he will get creamed at 60 miles per hour. Sometimes people go faster than that. And our line is all surrounded by 60 plus miles per hour, and that's not good for him. And he usually does not wander off. I will give him that. The couple of days that he has been getting out when we were inside, or when we're out and he's just roaming around with us, he usually stays either right under us or right by the doors. So we've never really had a problem. It was just the fact the fireworks spooked him and scared him to death, and he literally took off, left our property, and went about a mile up the road. But y'all, I'm going to tell you, it's only a miracle that I was able to find him, because I knew for sure with all of the businesses, him being in the roads and all of the neighborhoods, I thought, you know what, somebody could pick him up, he's going to get hit by a car, or he will be somewhere where we will never be able to find him. So it was a huge blessing. Something bad that turned out good. That's kind of been the theme of the story, good and bad news for today. But we are very thankful to have him back. I was totally panicked this morning thinking, there's no way we are not going to find him. There's no way we are not going to find him. But we did. We're counting our blessings. I've shored up his kennel to keep him safe. I'm not sure how much more we're going to be out today. I know there's a couple of more things that need to be done. He and Simba are both going to be able to run around, stretch their legs out, use the bathroom, get plenty of exercise before they go up for tonight. We are going to be packaging up the rest of that sausage tonight. Hopefully that is the last step. We're going to get all the rest of that stuff in the freezer. Processing of the pigs are going to be done. Looking forward to the next couple of steps to finishing off some of these projects that we've been doing. Guys, thank you for tagging along. We appreciate y'all so very much. You know, I tell y'all that every video, but we really mean it. We can't do what we do without you guys, and we are so thankful for y'all. Thank you for always watching. Thank you guys for commenting and letting us know your thoughts. We read all of those, and we try our best to respond to all of those comments as well. God bless and happy homesteading, y'all.